England emerged as a cultural nation only after Alfred the Great, 9th century. Before that, there was no England. Okay, even culturally, India existed as a cultural nation since eternity. There's more than enough textual examples of this. All this nonsense that the British taught us is not true. उत्तरम यत् समुद्रस्य हिमाद्रश्चैव दक्षिणम वर्षम तद भारतम नाम भारती यत्र संततिः. North of the ocean, south of the Himalaya lies the nation of Bharat, and there live the descendants of Bharat. The nobles were all foreigners, by the way. There were some Rajputs in there.
Correct.
It's not like Indian Muslims were a part of the ruling elite. No, they weren't. They were as oppressed as Indian Hindus. If you don't use the term Christian invasion for British colonial rule, why do you use the term Islamic invasion for Turkic colonial rule?
Correct.
Right? One of the Turkic diplomats I had met had told me, like, Pakistanis don't need to do a genetic test. Just look in the mirror, man. do you think you are? No, you're not. You're not the Turks, man. Okay. वो है ना, वो बेगानी शादी में अब्दुल्ला दीवाना पहुंच गए पाकिस्तानी, भाई आप हमारे बाप हो. अब हमें पैसा दो.
Welcome back, Amish sir.
Thank you. Not too much space. Namaste.
Thank you to season 5 of After Hours powered by Jaguar. I don't need to give you an introduction. Everybody already knows who you are, but you know that I'm an ardent reader of your books. And I think when we chat, you figure out that I do read your books. And I have read your most recent book, which is called The Chola Tigers, Avengers of Somnath. And we're going to talk about this and a lot more. But before that, I want to start by something you've written, which is not a part of your story. And that's what I want to start with. I'll read it out. It says, some say that India didn't exist in ancient times, that the British Raj created the nation of India. False. India, that is Bharat, was created by our ancestors. We've existed since the dawn of human civilization. Every other pre-Bronze Age civilization is dead, but we're still here, we're still standing. And we will be there till the last human lives. For our motherland is Sanatan, she is immortal. She lives in the soul of us, her children. Even if one of us lives, she lives. Bharat will never die. This is beautiful, by the way. And I want to start by asking you, what is Sanatan and how does it live within us?
Okay, it can be seen from various perspectives. One is, of course, Sanatan in terms of dharma. But in the context of this, it's actually our motherland. And, a concept that's been taught to us and sadly imbibed by many Indians because of our education system, which is still the British colonial education system. We haven't decolonized as much as we should have. Like a simple example that I quote, I'm sure you in school, and I'm sure many of your viewers as well, in school they would have been taught that there are 4 seasons, right? Summer, autumn, winter, spring. That's actually the number of seasons in Europe. India actually has 6 seasons. Because the obvious question that we should ask when they give us this list of 4 is, where's monsoon? Which is our main season, right? So,
Savan.
Exactly. So now, because our education system has not been decolonized enough, we still believe much of the nonsense that the British taught us. Among the nonsensical things that they taught us was that India was never a nation. Winston Churchill, I think, was who said that there's no nation called India. It is just, I'm paraphrasing, something that is built along the railway lines that the British Raj built. Nonsense. The answer to that, and which is why I say this at the beginning of my book, is that if you're talking about a state, okay, a political nation state, then yes, the Indian Republic is a recent creation, but then so is the United Kingdom, so is Germany, so is France. In fact, there was no nation state anywhere in the world before the treaties of Westphalia, which is only in the 17th century. It's relatively recent. Before that, states were usually not necessarily aligned to the cultural nation. Let me give you an example. If in 15th century England, you said you're loyal to England and not to King Henry, you'd be beheaded as a traitor. Why? Because the state was the king.
Got it.
Not the cultural nation.
Got it.
Parts of France were ruled by the English for some time. That doesn't mean that the French nation didn't exist. right? It's just that an English king was ruling them, and vice versa. At
The
times, some French
construct
kings.
basically that one was adhering to was a person.
A person, a monarchy, a state,
Correct.
right? Which is very different from what a nation is. A nation is culture. That's how it was. So nations were always cultural concepts before the treaties of Westphalia, not political concepts. England emerged as a cultural nation only after Alfred the Great, 9th century. Before that, there was no England. Okay, even culturally, India existed as a cultural nation since eternity. There's more than enough textual examples of this. All this nonsense that the British taught us is not true. There's one thing which I say in the book from the Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Puran is at least 2,500 years old. Uttaram yat samudrasya himayatrash chaiva dakshinam varsham tada bharatam nama bharti yatra santatihi. North of the ocean, south of the Himalaya, lies the nation of Bharat. And there live the descendants of Bharat. The British didn't create us, our ancestors created us. Even foreigners at that time used to acknowledge when they came to India. Right? There are these books which have travelogues of foreign travelers, like Yun Sang, that you would have read in school, but various others. Lankan Buddhists used to come to India, Greek historians used to come to India. There's this book called The India They Saw, series of 4 books, in which they record Lankans who crossed the Palk Straits from Sri Lanka to what is today's Tamil Nadu 1500 years back. Okay, just across to Tamil Nadu. And they recorded in that travelogue, moment they reached Tamil Nadu, they went down on their knees, kissed the ground, and said, "We are in the land where Gautam Buddha was born." Gautam Buddha was born in the Bihar Nepal border. These foreigners were clear. Tamil Nadu, Bihar, Nepal border,
It's all the same.
nation.
Same state.
They
Same
were.
nation.
It's only us, very unworthy descendants of very kick-ass ancestors, who are unclear. Okay, and that's a point I want to make. We were culturally, we were always a nation. Politically, whatever it would may have been, right? And we've been that way since the pre-Bronze Age. And of the pre-Bronze Age civilizations, we are the only ones still standing. Everyone else, practically everyone else, is dead. China is not pre-Bronze Age; it's around 4,000 years old. Right?
But so, how is Sanatan different from religion? Because I think there's a lot of confusion around Sanatan being a way of life versus it being the same sort of equivalent of Hinduism, the religion. How do we separate the two? Because I know you've referenced it here as something that we are. You call it she. She is in us. So, how do we separate the two if I was to understand that better from you?
I think the concept of religion is more a Western concept now. When you think of a religion, you think of one religion, one God, one book, which you follow.
Correct.
And anyone who doesn't follow that is a disbeliever.
Correct.
Right? Kafir, heathen, pagan. There are various words, right, for this. There was no concept like this in the dharmic religions, which is Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. Because it's not about worshipping one god. You can have multiple gods or goddesses, or you can be an atheist. That's okay. It's not about one book. It's an entire library. You pick what you want to read, and ideally read as much as you can. Right? It's very different from the Western concept of religion, which is why it's difficult for many people to understand this, because it's not that you're seeing a different thing. Your way of seeing itself has to be different, right? If you are only about that this way is the right way and this is the wrong way, then you have the kind of extremism that you have in the West. You notice, to fight for women's rights, you have to start hating men. Then to fight for transgender rights, you have to start hating women. They don't do balance. Keep swinging from one extreme to the other.
I mean, in general, if one was to see, the Western culture is extremely polarized.
Completely binary. And that's it's not modern. It's the way it has always been. Because it is about, they always see things in binary, right? And this is, in India, I don't think it's just about the dharmic religions. Even Indian Islam and Indian Christianity are in many ways very different from how you see Islam or Christianity being practiced abroad. An Indian Muslim is not going to come and tell you that only Allah is true. If you worship Lord Shiva, you are worshipping a false god. He's not going to say. He said, you worship your god, I'll worship my god.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't exist in binaries. Right? This is what makes our way of life fundamentally different, which is why you have to follow some basic principles rather than rules. What are those principles? One is karma dharma, right? That you are in charge of what happens to you. You will decide through your actions.
Correct.
It's not that a god will judge you. In fact, even the gods are subject to karma dharma.
Yeah, because
Right?
Hinduism is not about judgment day.
No,
It's
there is
not
no
about that.
judgment day.
There is no
It
judgment
is
day.
eternal.
Yeah,
That's what Sanatan
correct.
means. It's eternal. There's no beginning, there is no end. There is no judgment day. And God is not going to come and judge you. Even He is subject to the same laws of cause and effect
Yeah.
that you are. At the end of the Mahabharata, even Lord Krishna is cursed, right?
Yeah.
By Ma Gandhari. He is subject to the same laws. He or she,
Yeah.
actually. We don't. You'll
Correct.
notice that in English, and this is true of many Western languages, the male god is written with a capital G. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Female goddess, how is it written? What's the grammar rule?
I've actually not paid attention to this.
It's small g. That's a grammar rule, right? What is the philosophical reason behind it? Male god, true god. Goddess, that's a Western concept.
Oh my god, I have never
That is-
noticed this.
That is the Western concept, which is it's always about there's one male god, there is one book, there is one religion. Everything else is false.
Goddess
Okay.
Lakshmi, whenever I've read, yeah, the Lakshmi ka L is capital. वो तो क्योंकि
It's-
proper noun है
It's in
इसलिए.
English, but
हाँ.
in Sanskrit, you notice there's no difference between a male god or a female goddess. The term that you use, there is no difference, right? Because that's our philosophical concept. Now, many of us have got so westernized, and it's not just India, across the world, that we don't even notice these things.
Yeah,
Our
I mean, I
entire
hadn't till
way
you
of
pointed it out.
looking at things is always about we are living a Western life.
Yeah,
We are speaking in English.
correct.
We're wearing Western
Yeah.
clothes, right? How do
Me
we?
more than you at this point in time. I think it's still some representation of culture is coming from the other side, not mine.
But the thing is, it's not. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not just about looking at something different. The way of looking itself is different, right? Ours is a different. That's what I think is meant by a different way of life. So it's not really like a different religion. It's a different way of life. It's a different way of approaching the world itself.
जैसे वो बोलते हैं ना कि सनातन धर्म है और धर्म there's a comedian called Ravi and he said कि धर्म मानना नहीं होता है, धर्म निभाना होता है.
Perfect.
Which is
Perfect.
which is the way of
He
life.
said it beautifully.
Yeah.
I should listen to this Ravi
Yeah.
person a lot
Yeah.
more because it's not about faith. In any Western or Middle Eastern religion, can you be religious and atheist at the same time? No. But in our way, you can.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not about the faith.
But how
Faith
can
is a personal
even
choice.
in our way you be religious and atheist at the same time?
You can be a Hindu and be a Charvak, which means you don't believe in a creator God. You can be a Hindu and you can be a Mimamsa, which means you don't believe in a creator God. You believe in the law of cause and effect. Okay.
Okay.
That is a fundamental
So we
principle.
are basically in these sort of
So-
situations. We are not believing in the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
They don't believe in a creator God.
Hmm.
There is no. They believe that the universe is run on laws and principles, and the gods are also whoever they could be superior beings. They are also subject to the law of cause and effect. That is the follow up in like there are
The
various different.
Paramatma is basically Paramatma, just higher soul.
Just a higher soul who's not interfering, who's not deciding, who's not judging. You can't even use the term he. Okay. Just exists. Paramatma just exists. That's one of the philosophies as well, right?
Interesting.
And these are mainstream philosophies in the Hindu way of life. So it's more about a different way of looking at life itself. It's not just a different thing, which is why the Western term religion often does not apply. But since we speak in English, okay, we are using that term,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So-
because what would be different words for in Hindi for faith and religion?
faith is panth.
Hmm.
We often use the term dharma
Yeah.
for religion, which is actually erroneous.
Huh.
Dharma doesn't mean religion. Dharma is beyond religion. It's
Yeah.
above religion,
Correct.
right?
That's why I would imagine that in this interpretation, Sanatan would be dharma.
Yeah.
Religion would be
Panth.
Hmm.
Yeah, 5,000, 6,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, among the most popular gods who most people panth,
Hmm.
who most people worship was Lord Indra.
Hmm.
Where is he now? It doesn't mean we are seeing him as a demon.
Yeah.
It's just that he's not as popular now, right?
Yeah. Our
As he
fashion.
used to be. Or Lord, and that was a panth,
Yeah.
right? Or Lord Kuber, for example. Do we worship him in India anymore? No. You go to Southeast Asia, you find temples to Lord Kuber. Why? Because Hinduism went there around 1500 years ago
Hmm.
when Lord Kuber was still popular.
Yeah.
They are still worshipping Lord Kuber. We've forgotten, right?
We have so many options, no?
They were there earlier also.
Yeah.
This is what a panth is. So
Yeah.
that's a beauty of the Indian way, that you find the path that works for you for faith.
Hmm.
But dharma is above that. Dharma is actually core principles
Got it.
which
Well said.
makes which holds the universe together,
Hmm.
which holds societies together.
Hmm.
And one of the things I always believe, you think differently depending on the time horizon you have.
Hmm.
If you're looking only at the next quarter, you
Yeah.
think differently about a business, about life, about everything. If you're thinking for your entire life, you
Yeah.
think differently in your personal decisions as well, right?
100%.
The kind of relationships you will have.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, भाई मुझे 3 महीने में मर ही जाना है, you'll be different, right? The kind of people you might be attracted to, kind of people you
Correct.
might not be. But if you're thinking about life as a whole, you're attracted to a different kind of person,
Hmm.
right? It's in the dharmic way, the thinking is always about the long term.
That's
So
actually
we
very well said.
so we
It's true.
think differently. Our
Yeah.
society thinks differently. Like it's a bit of a sidelight, but if you see many of the societies that have become hugely rich over the last few decades,
Hmm.
right? South Korea, China, many of the Southeast Asian countries, many European countries recovered post
Yeah.
the Second World War. They had a fantastic 80, 90 years. You notice most of them, their birth rates are collapsing now.
Yeah.
South Korea, China, they're at 0.5, 0.6.
Japan even.
Japan,
Yeah.
these are societies which are literally committing suicide. There will be no South Korea 50, 60 years later. Not because someone conquered them and killed them. They decided to commit suicide as a society.
Hmm.
Now, you will, if you as a society think that it's all about only my life, not my descendants,
Hmm.
then all you think about is, let me earn as much money as I can, let me party as hard as I can, because anyway, I'm not going to have kids. The
Yeah.
country dies, I don't give a damn, right? You have fantastic growth for 60 years, 100 years, 120 years, which seem very long for
Yeah.
you as an individual. In the time of a civilization, it's a blink of an eye,
It's true.
right? And
70 years in
your
the time of
society
civilization is
is
nothing.
nothing. And your society has this huge burst in growth and then literally commits suicide.
Hmm.
Right? Now, if you're a society which at its core thinks more long term,
Hmm.
right, you will realize there's a balance. How do I keep my family is running? How do I, if I need a next generation, then I need mothers,
Yeah.
right? You can't have, fathers are optional, okay?
Hmm.
I mean, ideally you want two parent
Yeah.
households, but if there's no mother, there is no next generation.
Hmm.
Then the society thinks differently,
Yeah.
right? I think that's one of the key differences between the dharmic way of life. We just tend to instinctively think long term. Then
Hmm.
you balance everything,
Hmm.
right? Uh, you notice in our epics, in our the way relationships are thought of, it's not just about अरे उसको देखा तो मन में violin बजने लगा. That's because I mean that's great
Yeah.
for a dating period, or and you should have it. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
There is the rasas of life as well, but that's not the only thing in life.
Yeah. You look at
Right?
stability. You think long term. Do I want to have children with this
Exactly.
partner? Can we raise a family together? Can we grow old together?
Exactly.
Can we rely on each other to take care of each
Exactly.
other's families?
Spot on. Spot on. And if you're only worried about the hearing the violin, you'll
Yeah.
probably pick the if one picks a kind of partner who is just going to make the violin go crazy, and then that violin a violin usually plays a sad tune, right? After some time, right? It's going to start going that way. If you're thinking short term, nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Hmm.
But realize that you're thinking short term, you are going to burn out. Why is it that so many civilizations that started after us are
Yeah.
already dead,
Yeah.
right?
They
Whereas we are still
concentrated
here.
on the violence.
It's
Yeah.
not just that, it's just the way you look at time.
Yeah.
If you're focused, for example, only on money,
Hmm.
right? I'm not saying money is not important,
Hmm.
right? But it's not the only thing in life.
Yeah.
Our ancestors used to speak of artha, but not just artha,
Hmm.
also kama, moksha, and dharma,
Hmm.
right? You need a balance of all four. That is what is meant by Sanatan. That's what makes a society, a civilization, Sanatan. The way you look at time, the way
Correct.
you look at the balance of everything.
Of the ecosystem around you and how
Everything.
it'll
Everything.
maintain itself.
If you're as a civilization or a thin culture civilization, and you just want to make money next quarter report, nothing, destroy your environment. What
Yeah.
difference does it make,
Hmm.
right? Anyway, तुम्हें मर ही जाना है, and nature
हाँ.
will recover,
हाँ.
right? Or if a society becomes so short term, then businessmen or the intellectuals, they don't care if they're destroying the society,
Yeah.
or the warriors, they don't care,
Correct.
because anyway मैं बच्चे थोड़ी पैदा कर रहा हूँ.
Hmm.
It's, you notice that if,
So tradition is important for,
of course it's important,
yeah.
which is why one of the core things of the dharmic way of life is deep connection to your ancestors
Hmm.
and your descendants.
Hmm.
So I think it was Milan Kundera who
Hmm.
said, maybe paraphrasing,
Yeah.
that civilization is the struggle
Hmm.
of remembering against forgetting. And if you want to put this into practice, what does this mean?
Hmm.
That we in the present have a duty.
Yeah.
We have to ensure that we remember our ancestors, everything that, ideally most of it,
Yeah.
reform what needs reforming,
Hmm.
and make sure we pass it on to our descendants.
Hmm.
If there are no descendants, there's no society. If there's no memory of our ancestors, there is no society.
Hmm.
You know, there's an African American friend of mine who's telling me there's a movement across some of the African Americans. Do you notice that most of them actually, their names are Western?
Yeah.
They've forgotten their ancient cultures and religions.
Yeah.
They've got European names. They're not of European descent, right? Whereas the Indians or the Chinese are still stubbornly holding on to their old name, to their old
मैं
ancestors,
तो
to their way of life.
the new age Gen Z name से ही परेशान हूँ. मतलब I तो like the old school,
हाँ.
you know, Sanskrit Hindu names. अभी तो we
अच्छा,
are in
आजकल
the world of
अलग-अलग हो रहा है.
Kiaras and the
That's one of,
Anaishas and the,
and to me, that is a challenge, right?
Hmm.
Look, if there's gradual reform happening, that's great. There are
Yeah.
some things of the past, of our ancestors, that maybe we should
Yeah.
forget. Yes, birth reforming.
yeah.
Want to bring in something of the new, that's also cool.
Hmm.
Our way of life gave that freedom, but we must remain connected to our ancestors.
Hmm.
If we don't do that, we are not a society,
Hmm.
right? We're just a bunch of consumers. That's not a society. And a bunch of consumers will end up, sadly, like South Korea, Japan, China, and even many European countries right now,
Hmm.
where the societies will die.
Hmm.
It's a matter of time,
Yeah.
not because some barbarians attack them and kill them. They just consciously commit suicide.
Hmm.
That's why I write books like this,
Yeah.
because our history textbooks don't teach us the stories of our ancestors.
Hmm.
They teach us the stories
Of our
the,
conquerors.
yeah,
Yeah.
of the foreign invaders who
Yeah.
killed our ancestors, who attacked our ancestors, and our ancestors fought back and survived.
Yeah.
Right? We're not the descendants of Alauddin Khilji or
Yeah.
Mahmud Ghazni or Winston Churchill. No, we're not.
Hmm.
And they themselves never saw themselves as Indians. We are hoping to pretend that they are
Yeah.
Indian. They were very clear they were Turks.
I
Okay?
think a very sort of
We have to tell the story of our ancestors.
correct.
That's what makes us a society. That the struggle of remembering.
Hmm. You know, the easiest way I think to see this would be, you know, when we talk about representation in culture, we're talking about the Cholas right now, and of course we'll discuss how disjointed I think North Indian history and South Indian history have kind of been, and I think you very wonderfully said in an interview that India is not just what is from Khyber to Agra or
Agra,
Delhi.
yeah,
You know, it's so much more than that. We've
So much more than that.
forgotten the southern peninsula almost while
Not to, look, our
teaching
history
history.
books are essentially, because the focus, and particularly the history of the last 1,000 years, right? Like apparently everything only happened around Delhi. Okay.
Yeah.
And this gives us an inadequate understanding of our entire nation. In your history books, at least it was there in my history textbooks, there were 2 or 3 chapters saying "Meanwhile in the South."
Yeah.
Was it there?
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the
And
South.
I've studied in the South, okay, in Tamil Nadu. I can tell you how offended South Indians used to get by that,
Yeah.
which is absolutely fair.
Yeah.
What do you mean, meanwhile in the South, while
Yeah.
all the real things are happening close to Delhi?
Yeah.
But I pointed this out to my South Indian friends that at least the South gets a meanwhile in the South.
Mm.
Western India, Central India, Eastern India, Northeast India doesn't even get that.
That's true.
There is no meanwhile also.
There's no meanwhile.
The hilly regions,
कुछ नहीं.
Kashmir, कुछ नहीं है. It's
Seven
like,
Sisters का तो कुछ है
it's
ही
like
नहीं
they don't
history.
exist. Not the Seven Sisters, Marathas,
हाँ.
where they're restricted to 2-3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Okay, when actually the British conquered India from the Marathas, not from
Yeah.
the Mughals.
Yeah.
Right? The Sindhis, the Kashmiri Karkotaks, the Palas, Buddhist Palas of, so it's not just like a Hindu-Muslim thing also,
Yeah.
because Adil Shahis of Deccan are also ignored.
Hmm.
Adil Shahis were great, no
Yeah.
doubt. They made one mistake, never conquered Delhi, so they are ignored.
Hmm.
Right? Northeast, the Parmars of Central India, MP, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, all ignored.
Hmm.
Right? And it's not just a lack of fairness. It also gives us, like I said earlier, an inadequate understanding
Hmm.
of our land.
Hmm.
We see ourselves as a land of farmers.
Yeah.
Okay. We see ourselves as a land obsessed with, looking towards the Khyber Pass कि अगला invader कौन आ रहा है.
Correct.
That is our, and भाई ये invader को नया invader मारेगा और हमारे ऊपर एक
पानी से तो हम भूल ही गए.
हाँ. Now that's why we think we are not a seafaring nation.
Yeah.
And actually, we are the greatest seafaring nation in the ancient world. We are the greatest trading nation in the ancient world.
And
It's-
most of that trade, I
Yeah.
believe, was conducted anyway through.
Yeah,
The
through the
sea.
sea, obviously. That's the cheapest mode of
Yeah.
trade. Now, there's so many things like this that we simply don't understand. We always saw ourselves as a defensive civilization.
Hmm.
From Khyber to Agra, yes, it was defensive, no doubt, right? Because बेचारे करते क्या, एक के बाद एक Turkic invaders were coming. But the rest of India was actually expansive,
Hmm.
right? The Kalingas, Odiyas, Andhras, Tamils went to Southeast Asia, spread our culture there.
Yeah.
Kerala, Karnataka, Gujarat, they went to Africa, various other, spread our culture there. Okay.
At the Swarnabhumi airport in
Yeah.
Thailand, you
Yeah.
have the Manthan ka.
Exactly.
this
Where
thing.
do you think that came from?
Yeah.
Because Indians went there. So we were an expanding culture. But we Indians see ourselves as defensive. Like even someone in Maharashtra, okay, will see himself. Why? Because Khyber to Agra was defensive, no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay.
पर याद तो हमने वही किया है ना, तो अब हमारी मेंटालिटी भी
Correct.
वैसी
वही
बन
बन
गई
गई
है.
है. Which is why we need to expand our understanding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, and it was so exciting. Honestly, I hadn't paid attention to the Cholas and
Hmm.
just how much might they had when it came
Yeah.
to naval warfare or sort of naval trading. When it came to just, I actually wanted to ask you, as you just said, were the Cholas more defensive or were they more aggressive?
Okay. Rajendra Chola,
Yeah.
1,000 years ago. Okay. He ruled most of South India,
Yeah.
most of East India, most of Southeast Asia, Andaman Nicobar, Sri Lanka. I've said this often. Bay of Bengal was essentially Rajendra Chola's pond.
Yeah.
Okay. He didn't inherit this. He conquered it. Right? And up to Southeast Asia. Yeah?
Hmm.
He was the most powerful man on earth 1,000 years ago. The wealthiest. His empire was the wealthiest. And unlike the Song Empire, where a lot of the money was concentrated in the
Yeah.
emperor, unlike the Abbasid Caliphate, which was the biggest empire in the Middle
Yeah.
East, where a lot of money was concentrated, at least among the top elites, the Cholas were actually far more. It was I won't say decentralized in power, but decentralized in wealth,
Hmm.
decentralized in infrastructure. Their greatest monuments, many of the ancient Indian, their greatest monuments were never their palaces or mausoleums.
The temples.
The temples,
Hmm.
universities, public infrastructure like canals, roads,
Yeah.
right? Which is why it was such a wealthy empire as well, right?
Yeah.
We are not taught about Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola's empire was actually bigger than Akbar's empire
Yeah.
in terms of area and population and share of world GDP. You won't get that impression if you read our history books.
Not at all.
Okay? I'm not saying Akbar was a bad emperor.
No,
Okay.
and I don't think
Among the Mughals, he was probably the best. The rest were quite
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
But we don't get a sense of the other emperors were as great, and frankly, in many terms, greater for the common people.
I mean, but are we saying that at this point in time we're okay with the erasure of a little bit of Mughal history uh, because it alludes to our current stance on how we feel about the religious sentiments? So are we saying because we need more history of our ancestors that actually defended our nation?
So, unfortunately, this debate is stuck between two sets of extremes,
Yeah.
right?
I
One,
don't think we feature in any of
yeah, no,
those.
because there's
Yeah.
one extreme which is Mughals are the greatest ever, speak only about them,
Yeah.
where Chodas would be 2 paragraphs but
Correct.
5 chapters on the
Meanwhile in South
Mughals.
India, yeah.
Meanwhile, and
Huh.
the rest don't even get a meanwhile. Tum bhul
Correct.
jao,
Huh.
right? No, one is not on that extreme. Then on the other extreme, that erase it all out. That's
Huh.
also silly,
Correct.
right? It's like, yes, the British were foreigners, but there's no point erasing that history. We have to learn that history.
हाँ अभी
Right?
200
Because we have
साल
to-
को आप कैसे कर सकते हो?
And we have to learn about it so that we can learn the mistakes also.
Yeah.
Okay. At their peak, the British weren't more than 150,000 in India. 150,000 people ruled 300 million Indians for nearly 200 years. There's not just a conquest, there's humiliation. That's
Yeah.
unparalleled.
Yeah.
Even the Mughals weren't in that great numbers actually. And they weren't really Mughals, they were Temurids.
Yeah.
That's what they called
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
We call them Mughal, right?
Yeah.
They didn't see the founder of their dynasty as Babur. The founder of their dynasty, according to them, was Timur, who was a Turk.
Correct.
Right? The what we call the Mughal royal seals. It's a circular seal. At the top is usually the founder, and then all the other emperors. And the most recent one would be like, if it's like a clock, most
Yeah.
recent one would be 11. At 12 o'clock was always Timur, not Babur. Right? We see Babur as the founder. They didn't see themselves as Babur as the founder. They saw
Yeah.
Timur as
Yeah.
as the founder. They saw themselves as foreigners very clearly, right? That doesn't mean we shouldn't teach about them, because even the Timurid Mughals weren't that huge in number.
Yeah.
I don't know, estimates vary, maybe 500,000, 600,000. All the nobles, the nobles were all foreigners, by the way. There were some Rajputs in there.
Correct.
But it's not like Indian Muslims were a part of the ruling elite. No, they weren't. They were as oppressed as Indian Hindus.
This
Okay.
is a misconception, by
It's
the
a
way,
complete misconception.
because that is
okay?
what people assume.
Because then you would have seen Indian Muslims, in the list of nobles. There are no
Yeah.
Indian Muslims. There are some Rajputs out there.
Yeah.
There are no Indian nobles.
Yeah.
There are no Indian Muslim nobles
Yeah.
out there. The Muslim nobles were all either Turks or Persians or
Yeah.
Arabs, right? But even them, their numbers weren't that huge. How did they rule us for so long? Right? That's a lesson we should draw. Was
Yeah.
it a lack of unity? Was it so many other things, right? So you should
Greed.
teach about this,
Yeah.
but balance it out. It
Yeah.
can't be only this, okay? Because we are not the descendants of those foreigners. They are a part of our history, no doubt, but we are not their descendants. We are the descendants of our ancestors.
Yeah.
And you're not a society if you are not clear where you have come from and where you're going. You're not a society if you're not clear who your ancestors were and who your descendants will be. This is not nativist thinking. This is having clarity on who you are. Like I said, that African American friend of mine was telling me, their identity is all European, which is why they are unmoored. And there's a move amongst many of them: revive their ancient names,
Yeah.
revive their ancient culture. Then they will become a strong society.
Yeah. I think also among many misconceptions is, and I think you've kind of discussed this as well, that Turkic invaders were considered Islamic,
True.
Yeah. and that is not how it was, and you said it that it's almost like saying that the British invasion was Christian invasion.
Yeah. So they were Islamic, they
Yeah.
were Muslims. But when you term something like names have power, words have power, if you don't use the term Christian invasion
Yeah.
for British colonial rule, why do you use the term Islamic invasion for Turkic colonial
Correct.
rule? Right? Practically all Indians are very clear that British colonial rulers had nothing to do with Indian Christians or Portuguese colonial rulers, and Portuguese were really barbaric.
Yeah,
Right? You have
relentless.
to
Yeah.
see the Portuguese Inquisition in Goa was as worse, if not in terms of relative to the
Correct.
population, probably worse than the Spanish Inquisition.
Correct.
Right? But they have nothing to do with the Indian Christians. Okay? But sadly, many Indians are not clear that including sadly some Muslims, and Muslims in Pakistan are clearly not.
On the same page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they think they're descendants of Turks.
Yeah.
Trust me, most Turkic diplomats I've met laugh at that. Okay, one of the Turkic diplomats I had met had told me, like, Pakistanis don't need to do a genetic test. Just look in the mirror, man. Do you think you are? No, you're not. You're not the Turks, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So वो है ना, वो बेगानी शादी में अब्दुल्ला दीवाना,
हाँ.
वहाँ पहुंच गए पाकिस्तानी, भाई आप हमारे बाप हो.
They're like, नहीं नहीं,
अब हमें
हम नहीं
पैसा
है.
दो. But the we are not as clear that the Turkic invaders were not Indian Muslims. Right? And I've said this often, and it's not the fault of Bollywood people. You can't blame them. They went to the same schools and colleges as us.
Yeah.
But the movies also cause confusion, no? Because we think Alauddin Khilji looked like Ranveer Singh. We think Akbar looked like Hrithik Roshan.
I don't think if you go to the museums and see like the clothes, etc., Akbar was supposed to be really short.
He was short. To us, he would have looked Chinese.
Yeah.
He wasn't really Chinese.
Yeah.
He wasn't Chinese. He was from Central Asia.
Yeah.
But to us, he would have looked Chinese.
Yeah.
Right? He had a huge mole out here. He didn't speak Urdu.
Persian.
Okay. Yeah, he would have spoken Persian or Turkic.
Yeah.
The Timurids, they were Turkic, but their language and most of the administrators were Persians.
Yeah.
The Turks only did warfare. They didn't
Because
administer.
from what I remember, the museums that I visited, a lot of the writings is mostly in Persian.
Yeah.
And I remember
Persian language, Arabic script.
Correct.
But yes, it was, in terms of language, it was a Persianate empire. Most of the administrators were Persian.
Yeah.
But they were Turks.
Yeah.
Okay. In either case, boss, Urdu is our language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, this is not the language. Most Indians wouldn't understand what they were saying. Right? It's only like post Aurangzeb, when in the times of Nawab Wajid Ali Shah and Lucknow, when Urdu became the lingua franca and more Hindi kind of got out there. But the point I'm trying to make is they were foreigners. They saw themselves as foreigners. The fact that some of them married into Hindu families made no difference, because those women were converted. And if you notice, they may have taken the women of Hindu families or Indian families. They never gave their daughters in marriage to them.
But are you saying Jodha also then had to convert?
First of all, her name was not Jodha. That's a Mughal Azam thing. There are differences on what her name was. It's probably Harkal, because see, Jodha means that she's from Jodhpur.
Yeah.
But she wasn't from Jodhpur. She was from Amer, from Jaipur.
Correct.
Yeah, so her name can't be Jodha. There was no Anarkali either, by the way.
Anarkali to I know nahi.
Yeah, but even her, she wasn't, right? And yes, they were all converted. That's a reality. Okay?
But I read somewhere that unke graves nahi mile, like Rajput women, let's say, who married into the Mughals. Historians have not been sort of able to locate their burial grounds, and what you can see are chhatris, which is what is placed when they are cremated.
That honestly I'm not sure of. There is a scholar called Abhas Maldayar who's systematically translating many of the biographies of the Timurid Mughal emperors. He's done it of Babur recently, and I'm sure he's going to carry forward on many of the other emperors as well. So we'll get to know. That I'm not sure of. But the point I'm trying to make is, please note, they never gave any of their daughters in marriage. This is a fact. Right? So therefore, it wasn't that they were Indianizing themselves, because Indianizing is when you're willing for it to be both ways,
exchange.
Right?
Yeah.
And they were clear in their documents also. That we are Timurids, and it's not that they allowed Indian Muslims to become nobles. No.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah.
It's a reality. Again, we should still study them, right? But they were foreigners. And also realize it has nothing to do with Indian Muslims today. But speak the honest truth about what happened and study our ancestors a lot more, because they are the ones who kept our culture alive. Look, through all this very difficult 1,000-year period, right? These same invaders who came here, the Turks, Persians, Arabs, Portuguese, Dutch, English, the British, French. They went to every other part of the world, right?
Yeah.
Where are any ancient cultures alive? In most parts of the world, they're dead.
Yeah.
Ancient cultures, because these invaders killed them, right? But India is among the rare cultures which is still standing despite these foreign invaders attacking us for 1,000 years.
And what an
So-
important role the Cholas have played.
All our ancestors, which is what I feel that the last 1,000 years is the story of the greatest resistance in human
Yeah.
history. And we are not taught our history this way.
You almost
are taught-
compared it to the European Renaissance.
Even greater,
Yeah.
because in terms of sheer will to survive, okay, the Europeans didn't have to fight invaders to survive for 1,000 years
Yeah.
and still keep their culture alive, right?
Yeah.
Our ancestors did that for 1,000 years. We are not descendants of weak people who kept losing. We are descendants of the toughest buggers
Who
around.
kept fighting.
The only ones
Yeah.
who kept fighting these invaders for 1,000 years, man. They kept fighting. Zoroastrian Persia is not alive today. It's practically dead. It's 0.4, 0.5% in Iran.
Yeah.
They survive in India, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
They do.
And it was one of the greatest cultures of the ancient world. They survived for 50, 100 years when the Arabs attacked. That's it. Just 50 to 100 years. So many other cultures across the world, all dead. We are still standing. We are descendants of the toughest buggers, among the toughest buggers that history has seen. We should be proud of them. We should celebrate their stories. That's what makes us a society. When we are connected to our ancestors and see their achievements as our achievements, be inspired by them, and leave something better for our descendants.
So, what do you think are some of the traits that the Cholas had that still live in us? Outside of course, as you're saying, the grit and the determination to sort of conquer and also resist, being conquered.
It's it's a piece of philosophy which is ironically from a Hollywood movie, Batman. Yeah, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a monster yourself. Right? And I think the dharmic way is slightly different. That how do you fight monstrous invaders? Okay.
Yeah.
And yet not become a monster yourself. It's a very fine line.
Yeah.
Right? Because to defeat
It's a very Krishna way of living.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you have to defeat a monster, very often you have to do monstrous things.
Yeah.
Right? You aren't going to defeat a monster easily.
No, you can't.
You aren't going to defeat a monster by turning the other cheek.
No.
You're not going to defeat a monster if he's following none of the rules of war, but you're following the rules of war. You'll die.
Yeah.
It happened to so many of our warriors were very brave,
Yeah.
right? But we know Prithviraj Chauhan, for example,
Yeah.
exceptionally brave, but he would follow the rules of war,
Yeah.
right? Whereas his opponent did not.
Yeah.
And
Same for
sadly-
Khilji also.
Yeah. And sadly, at the end, the second battle, he lost,
Yeah.
right? So how do you keep fighting monstrous people and win and not become a monster yourself? It's a very fine line.
You think long
And
term.
you think long term. If we fought for 1,000 years and we are still a functional society, right? You notice societies which suffered tremendous violence and random violence for decades, they start becoming dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
Afghanistan, for example,
Fair.
it actually used to be a great society,
Yeah.
right? But bechare, they've been suffering war. First the Russians, then the Americans, the Pakistanis. There's a full pig's breakfast out there. It's a dysfunctional society, right? India is still a functional society after 1,000 years.
Yeah.
We are still, in terms of per capita violence, we are actually among the lowest in the world, right? Despite
ऐसे ही सब दिल्ली वालों को गाली देते हैं.
within the lower per capita, Delhi is high, but by global standards, like, do you know Delhi's violent crime rate is 1/10 of Boston?
But is it because it's not reported enough, or is it because it's factually
Listen,
true?
things like murder cannot be hidden. And I had a relative in my brother-in-law, my late brother-in-law was in the police force. You can hide some crimes. Murder, there's a dead body. Okay, it cannot be hidden, right? So, judging by violent crime rates like that, India is actually among the lowest, and this is not because we have an efficient police force. We know the police force is undermanned. It's not because we have a judiciary. All of us know. You will die before your court case is finished before all appeals. We all know that.
Yeah.
And there's paralysis in the judiciary. There
Yeah.
isn't. But despite that, our society is low violence. Why? Because the society does not choose violence. We are still a functional society. You see Europe suffering economic downturn just for a few years, and trust me, Europe will start becoming dysfunctional quite
Yeah.
soon. Which
I
meant
think parts of it
are
even in
already
terms of safety,
dysfunctional.
yeah. Economy.
Which, so think about India, which suffered violence like this for 1,000 years, right? You have no idea the kind of violence that the Delhi Sultanates did, the Timurid Mughals did. American historian Will Durant has written on it, right? And yes, we are not as functional as we were 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Parts of India that suffered more violence, you notice, have become more patriarchal. Not the You see, Northwest India, Western India, which suffered more violence, are more patriarchal.
Yeah.
Parts which suffered less, like South India, East India, are less patriarchal, right? Yes, so some changes have
I
happened.
mean, that is true for your and it ties in with, let's say, the literacy rate in states in South India versus North India. Correct.
Because of you notice villages in South India are cleaner,
Yeah.
right? Because they suffered less of the disruptive violence, right?
Yeah.
Because many of the Northwestern, and yes, all of India should be grateful to our ancestors between Khyber and Agra. They kept fighting,
Yeah.
right? Yes, invaders came to many other parts as well, but because our rebellions never stopped, the invaders didn't have enough force. They had to just bamboozle everyone, right? The point I'm trying to make is, after 1,000 years, we are still a functional society, which shows that we actually struck that balance. You can fight back monstrous invaders, you can survive and still not become a monster yourself.
Yeah.
That is dharma. That is a dharmic warrior.
Very interesting. I was thinking as you were talking about it, about how areas of our country that were invaded became more patriarchal, let's say. And it can tie into, the men wanting to do it out of a feeling of being protective towards the women and children, and that culturally transforming into this monstrous patriarchy, which, does takes away freedom as opposed to the sort of care and concern that initially it may have stemmed from.
Do you notice that in, like, for example, in the north, the Upanayana ceremony, the Janeu ceremony, is done in homes, whereas in in traditional times it was done in a temple, right? In South India, it's still done in a temple. Do you notice that our muhurt for shadis, for weddings in north, is usually late at night, 1:32? Why? Okay, Lord Ram didn't get married at 1:32. He got married during the day, right? In the south, it's still during the day. Why is that?
It's early in the morning, rather, I think.
Yeah, so, but it's not like 1 o'clock in the night.
No,
okay.
It's not.
Why is that? Because in the last 1,000 years, many of the foreign lords they used to have this concept of that the first night is theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what that means.
Yeah.
So then what do? You get married quietly at night, right? Many of our things actually moved indoors. We couldn't celebrate publicly. Delhi had no new temple built from the slave dynasty time till the time the British came. Okay, the capital of our country.
That's shocking. I actually had no idea.
No new temple for 600 years. Right?
Crazy.
Now, what does this do to a society? And a society that has suffered this kind of violence, yes, it will become more patriarchal.
Yeah.
But now we are safe. Okay. Now
we must evolve.
Yeah. We should revive what our ancient culture was. Yeah.
Where the goddess is G capital. Yeah.
Is central. Yeah. Where we were a society where you didn't need to hate men to respect women.
Correct.
And we are not the Western.
Yeah.
You know that, and that to me is
I don't think that is
destructive
even
feminism.
What I don't even think that is the essence of feminism in itself. It is one that just says, treat me with respect and give me equal opportunity. That's it.
But that's because you're an Indian woman. You're seeing it in a balanced way. In the West, I've seen it swings to an extreme. And I've seen now transgender rights has almost become about hating women. Right? You've seen that in the West now. That's not so in India. We've had a Kinnar Akhada since when? We have Ardhanareshwar. Right?
Yeah.
But doesn't mean you have to hate women to give transgender rights. That's not the Indian way. Right? We can revive that balanced approach now, because now our borders are strong. Because now we have dharmic warriors at our borders who will not let those monsters get in. Right?
Hmm.
But there was a time, yes, any army could come in deep.
Hmm. And now I think is sort of, as you're saying, and as you are exploring many things at the same time. I know
Hmm.
this is one of the many books that you have
Hmm.
sort of intended to write. There are many more
On
stories
the last
coming.
1,000 years, yeah.
Yeah, on the last 1,000 years, with all of these ancestors that we ought to be sort of knowing far more about, right? And in your, of course, interesting sort of, fiction, mythology,
Hmm.
history mix, I think is sort of the best time for us also to re-embrace Indian culture as it was,
Yeah.
in its form of Sanatan and its form of being dharmic.
And evolve what needs to be evolved.
Correct,
Right?
100%.
I'm very anti, the way what caste the caste system has become based on
100%.
100%.
I think
Right?
I was having a chat with one of my friends the other day, and we were talking about how even arranged marriage
Hmm.
as a concept
Hmm.
subliminally sort of encourages caste system. Because when you are sort of, let's say, talking to someone and saying that, oh, can you find a match for my daughter or my son? And, the process allows you to give preferences, right?
Hmm.
The first thing invariably that someone might say is
Community.
hamari community, hamari caste ka ho, etc., etc. So even then, what happens is, in this entire arranged marriage setup also, you end up marrying pretty
Yeah.
much within your caste for the most part, because it's a strong first preference. It'll always go, even the educated folk will always go like, नहीं ऐसे कोई नहीं है कि out of caste में problem है, but it's a subtle but let's sort of marry within the caste, etc.
Let me tell you two interesting data points, because arranged marriage probably has, as an institution, has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And the assumption, I guess, and okay, I've not had an arranged marriage.
Me
My
neither.
family were
Huh.
all, yeah, but it's an institution which serves a purpose, because if the parents are looking ideally, they're looking at a marriage that will last,
Yeah.
that will lead to the next generation, etc., etc. But till around 1500 years ago, there was heavy intermingling between most genetic groups within India, right? And there's something that modern genetic research is showing up. There's something interestingly that even Dr. Ambedkar wrote about in Who Are the Shudras. That was much more open. Now, if genetic groups are mixing, what does that mean? That actual marriages were happening across, because that's when the next
Correct.
generation will. So this was there around 1500 years ago. Something changed, which made us much more endogamous, which is that you're only marrying within your community. What happened? I don't know. That perhaps needs research. But it was there, so which means we can do it
Yeah.
again. It wasn't about मुझे सिर्फ अपने community में शादी करनी है. And the second data point is that the more intermingling you do, the better it is, right? Even for the genetic health of a population. Pakistan, for example, in its attitudes to marriage, was very similar to us till around 75 years ago, till independence. They were us only.
Yeah,
right?
we were one
But
nation.
they were some, for some reason, attitudes have changed. Their marriages have now become consanguineous, which is basically incest.
Yeah.
Okay, uncle is marrying niece,
Correct.
brother is marrying sister. So I was reading this data, the World Population Council, I think, it's the name, but the data is there, and anyone can Google it. Between 50 to 60% of their marriages are between close cousins. Okay, and this is true of even the Pakistani community in the UK. Now, you have no idea how terrible this is for your genetic group, because you have huge spike in genetic diseases, in IQ levels, in anger management issues. Okay, and they were our culture 75 years ago, right? So this is, at least in our in India, it's like you only want to marry within your community, not you want to marry
agreed,
only
agreed.
within your family, right? That is, in India, that's not done.
No,
right?
no. I mean,
Usually,
it
yeah.
would sound
Now,
absurd
yeah.
to us.
So now, and these
Marrying
are,
a cousin
yeah.
is an
Now-
off concept. to
Now
us.
these are things that are happening in Pakistan, right? And we need to, and this is a scientific fact that actually the kind of genetic issues that emerge because of that, it takes 2, 3, 4 generations to work out of it, right? And the genetic diseases are terrible, right? It just shows how powerful culture is, right? And how it starts. If you have a longer term perspective, how culture just starts showing up, right? And that's what I'm trying to say, that our ancient way can be revived when it's not just within your community. It's actually better to have more intermingling.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully people will
Yeah.
take this message.
No, marry who you fall in love
Yeah,
with, but
yeah, marry who you fall in love
but
with.
look outside your.
Look, yeah, let's not go the dhadak two-way. Sir, among all the things that you're doing, I know you have a busy day. How do you unwind after us? What do you do to just like enter your good life, whatever that good life is?
Listen to music, read, spend time with my family. My social life is largely my family. Uh, we sing, but it's all within our family. All of us sing.
हमें भी बुला लो
we-
कभी हम भी आ जाएंगे हम भी ठीक गाते हैं
done. We'll plan something.
yeah
So, yeah, reading, spending time with the family,
reading
music.
now is a part of
Yeah.
your I'm
No, I
guessing
just like doing it.
so much
Watching,
research goes into stuff
traveling.
like this
Yeah, what else is there to life? Yeah, spend time with the people that you love
yeah
and spend it doing something that you love doing. That's
I
all there
agree.
is to it.
I agree
Yeah.
that is a good life I agree.
Yeah, that's a good life.
Thank you, sir. It was an absolute pleasure. Again, before you go, sir, we have a not so little gift for you.
Oh wow,
And
it's a green box. Thank you. I'm joking. Thank you.
it's got something interesting, something you
lovely.
might like. It'll help you unwind.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.